Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel for another new Doctor Who video. Now this one's going to be about VworpCon, the Doctor Who themed convention that happened in Manchester the last Sunday at the time of recording this. Now this convention was announced ages ago, I think it was about a year or a number of months basically. And because it's in Manchester, which is relatively close to where I live compared to other cons that I've been to in the past, I thought, yeah, I might as well go. I've already seen all the doctors that are going there, Colin Baker, Peter Davison and Paul McGann, but there were a couple of companions going that I hadn't seen before, Nicola Bryant and Sophie Aldred in particular. And I also thought I might as well ask fellow YouTuber and schoolmate Miles Taylor to come with me, because I knew that Miles hadn't been to very many conventions before. I had, and I thought, it'd be good to have someone to go with, basically. And he said yes, so that was nice, and it's his first event in 5 years. So we went there together on Sunday for VworpCon, basically. Now, in terms of the actual event itself, I'm going to start by talking a bit about the venue, which I found slightly strange, I will admit. It was the Printworks, which is kind of an entertainment complex in Manchester that comprises restaurants, bars, and a View cinema as well. And the event took place across 4 of these restaurants, bar spaces. There was one for guest signings, an artist, and the Vworp store, with the other 3 for the panels, and there was also a little foyer area for the photo shoots in the View cinema. Now the venue was actually open to the public all day as well. It's a kind of walk-through thing, sort of a bit like an arcade really, with 2 entrances, or 1 entrance and 1 exit, so you walk through it, because there were other restaurants and places the public could go to. It wasn't all being used for the event, only kind of 4 or 5 of the buildings. So that was a bit weird, but I suppose, it was okay, and it sort of worked, the venue. Talking about the panels now, I mean, they basically all took place in bars or clubs, and some of these were underground, and they were actually still serving drinks throughout the day, I think alcoholic ones as well, which is probably part of the agreement to use the venue, so they can get a bit of money in, get some money out of the fans, that sort of thing. But I found, I must admit, that having the panels in bars was slightly strange, slightly incongruous, and it didn't really send out the right message about Doctor Who or Doctor Who fans, in my opinion. And there was a lack of seats in the bars as well. They weren't really built for that kind of thing. You had to have projector screens and make use of benches and stools and things. And then there were glasses and spilt drinks left on the floor that weren't always cleared up. And yeah, you get the idea. The panels themselves, I mean, yeah, they were really good. There was a great selection of panels, a wide range of guests appearing. All the guests that were at Vworp basically did a panel at one point during the day, and lots of topics discussed. There was something there for every Doctor Who fan, definitely. And I was looking forward to these. I'd seen the schedule a few days in advance and made a rough plan with Miles of which panels we'd try and go to. Now, unfortunately, like any convention that's ever happened in the history of the world, the panels didn't always start on time, they sometimes overran, and some were actually cancelled completely, as I understand, which, was a bit of a shame. But on the plus side, by poking our heads through the doors of the 3 stages throughout the day at different times, we basically did manage to catch sight of just about every single guest, I think, which was okay. And it was nice as well to have that element of just being able to walk in and out of each stage. It was quite informal and relaxed. I guess that's an advantage of using the kind of bar restaurant type setup where you can just walk in and out. It's not like a locked door in a theatre or something like that, I guess. The panels themselves, though, I mean, the actual content was really, really great. Out of all the conventions I've been to, this is probably one of the best for panels, really. And yeah, the kind of programme of panels on 3 separate stages was a little bit ambitious. But at the same time, the content that we got out of it was really great. And as I say, there was definitely something there for every Doctor Who fan. Highlights for me included the Is This Death panel, in which Graham Harper and Peter Davison discussed the making of the case of Androzani, as well as going on to discuss Time Crash as well. And then there was the Graham Harper Rushes, in which the audience was treated to never-before-seen footage from the making of the Series 4 finale, which Graham Harper directed. And essentially this just consisted of the rushes from certain scenes, and different camera angles put together to show how many times different scenes had to be shot from different angles at the same time or at different times, which was really, really interesting actually. And overall, the Harper Rushers panel did give a fascinating and valuable insight into what it's like to actually be working on a Doctor Who episode, particularly to actually direct it, and the highs and lows, etc. The footage also showed different takes of lines, which was again really interesting. For instance, there was some footage from Journey's End with Julian Bleach as Davros, and there's one particular take, a famous line about the destruction of reality itself, and the Rushers basically, unedited, just from the day itself, showed how he originally pitched that line slightly differently from what we ended up with, finishing on a quieter, more chilling note. But then fortunately both he and Harper were on the same wavelength, and wanted to give it another go, and then we ended up with that much more kind of bombastic, melodramatic destruction of reality itself sort of line. So it was really interesting to get the behind the scenes story of what happened there, and that gave an insight into when that happens in the industry, and the different interpretations really of different lines, and how the director must work together with the actors to really get the best out of them, So that was a really interesting panel. Probably, the two Graham Harper ones were the highlight of the day, really, in my opinion. We also saw Philip Hinchcliffe briefly discussing the Season 14 TARDIS interior, 3 classic companions on stage together in the Time Ladies, The Woman Who Lived panel, and an interesting look back at the making of the animated versions of The Power of the Daleks and Sharda, with an animator and a storyboard artist that worked on those stories. Now, of course, no convention is complete without a couple of autographs, and I did manage to see Nicola Bryant and Sophie Aldred, fortunately. Got their autographs, saw them both quite early on in the day, and yeah, they were both very friendly. It was great to meet them, because they're two companions that I've seen quite a lot of. I've seen all of Sylvester's era, and quite a few of Nicola's stories as Perry with the 5th and 6th Doctors. So I was familiar with those companions, and it was nice to meet the actresses behind them. And overall, actually, for the autographs as a whole, they were pretty good prices. You had £15 for most of the Doctors instead of the usual £20, which I found is the kind of standard across the board for the classic series Doctors, Plus, some guests didn't charge for a photo, which was also really nice, because usually sometimes you have to pay an extra £5 for that. So it was nice to be able to just get the photos without paying that cost necessarily, And it was also nice to see Peter Davison and Paul McGann again. I briefly saw them because Miles was meeting them, so I was there to take photos for him, and that was nice as well. We were actually the last people to see Paul in the whole day. We ended up missing him earlier on. And then just after the Sharda reanimated panel, we thought, let's just go and see if he's there. And he was. Luckily, he was still signing past 6 o'clock after we left. And the queue was capped off after we'd got there. So it was really lucky that we managed to get there. And Miles got his autograph, and I saw Paul again. Now here's a brief picture of my haul from the day as posted on Twitter, a roundup of everything I bought at the event, including the welcome pack. You got a couple of leaflets, a limited edition poster print thing it was printed on quite flimsy paper, I will admit, not kind of a very thick one, which would have been a bit nicer perhaps for your £20. Then the autographs from Nicola and Sophie, not to mention as well actually Ellen Thomas, who played a Weeping Angel in Doctor Who, as well as an Auton, I think, and a Clockwork Droid. And basically, all guests got a free autograph from about 3 different people that had been behind the masks of monster costumes. So there was her, and there was someone that had played a Dalek and a Cyberman, and someone else. I thought, you know what, I've got the Weeping Angel one just because, and she was there at the right time. So I got her autograph as well as Sophie's and Nicola, and she was also very nice, great to meet her. Then I also got some prints from Sophie Cowdery depicting the 1st and 12th Doctors from Twice Upon a Time, and Jodie Whittaker as the 13th Doctor. How could you not get one of the 13th Doctor? And Sophie had some really great work on sale there, so I thought I'd grab a few of them, and they're very nice pieces, very, very nice. So my overall thoughts on the day are that, yeah, it was a great event, a very good convention. Very tiring, but it wouldn't be a Doctor Who convention without being very tiring, with lots of queuing and aching legs, etc, etc. There were some teething problems, but as I say, this was the first Vworp event, so it was almost inevitable that some things would go wrong. I think, if anything, it was just perhaps a little bit too ambitious, as the organisers, I believe, have actually recognised themselves. And there's a Vworp 2 confirmed for 2019, so hopefully by that event, they'll be able to remedy some of the things that went wrong with this one and deliver an even better event. But overall, this wasn't a bad event by any means. There was some great stuff. It was great to meet the companion actresses that I saw, and the panels as well were a real highlight. As I say, the Harper ones were just great in particular. Really, really fascinating. Be sure to also check out Miles's video looking back at the day released the other day when I'm releasing this video. And I guess that's all from me, really. So I'll see you very soon for some more new videos. Check out everything else on the channel and subscribe if you haven't already, of course. And goodbye for now.